The continent of Altheria was once ruled by the harmony of three great kingdoms: Arcadis, the shining heart of magic; Elysia, the land of noble kings and warriors, Luna's home; and Eridor, the steadfast mountain fortress. All three kingdoms looked to Arcadis, governed by the benevolent rule of King Alaric, as the ultimate source of knowledge and protection. In those golden days, the most revered figure in Arcadis was not the king, but his right hand, Zack. A gifted magician, Zack served as the greatest teacher in the Royal Academy. He trained generations of warriors, including the king's own children, and fought bravely in the devastating wars against the demonic incursions from the outer realms. He was an idol, a pillar of the light, and the grandfather of the young prince, Alan, considered him kin. Yet Zack harbored a silent, corrosive affliction: greed. He craved not respect, but authority. He desired not magical power, but the raw, unchecked dominance over all three kingdoms. Zack's ambition led him to view the accepted canons of light magic, the rules passed down by the magical community and their ancestors, not as protection, but as a cage. The ancient laws stated that to cross the boundaries of light magic was to invite an inner darkness that could never be reversed, an abyssal corruption that would devour the soul's light, twisting the person from within and without. Zack was the first to ignore the warning. He sought power beyond the king's blessing. When King Alaric discovered Zack's forbidden research and treasonous ambitions, he did what he had to do. He publicly stripped Zack of his rank, titles, and honor, banishing him forever from Arcadis. The shame did not humble Zack. It ignited a firestorm of vengeance. Driven by bitter agony and a hunger for authority, Zack consciously stepped away from the light and plunged into a desolate region known only as the Valley of Whispers. Deep within this desolate abyss, he was seeking the Forbiddens. There, in a cave that seemed to bleed shadow, he met a creature that was neither fully human nor fully demon, but an ancient, horrific hybrid, the only living thing that had ever survived the initial use of dark magic. This filthy, ugly being was a testament to the darkness's terrifying toll, a lesson Zack refused to learn. The creature, whose name was lost to time, warned Zack of the irreversible consequences of embracing the void. But Zack, consumed by rage, refused to heed the caution. He demanded the source of the Forbidden's power. The creature finally relented, its voice a rasp of dried ash. It directed Zack to the Silent Peak, a mountain where, deep within a forgotten cave, a secret dark portal lay hidden. This portal led to a specific domain in the dark realm where a single, terrifying artifact waited: the Obsidian Grimoire, a book possessing the foundational power of dark magic. Zack returned, but the man King Alaric had known was gone. His eyes were cold, his skin pallid, and his movements were unnaturally swift. He now possessed the Obsidian Grimoire and wielded the raw, corrupting force of the dark arts. His first act of vengeance was catastrophic. He swept into the heart of Arcadis and, using the book's immense power, destroyed the entire central city. The beautiful stone structures crumbled, and tens of thousands of lives were instantly extinguished. Among the fallen were Zack's former students, the king's brave children who served as guardians and were the adopted parents of young Alan. They were heroes, but Zack's new power made them merely dust. King Alaric, Alan's grandfather, had anticipated the disaster. He knew the depth of Zack's madness and the power of the Forbidden's magic. Moments before Zack attacked, the king entrusted his youngest brother, Brad, Alan's uncle, with two sacred duties. The king gave Brad a heavy, ancient, leather-bound tome, a book of secrets passed down through the royal line. "This book," the king rasped, his eyes filled with sorrow and fear, "carries the wisdom, powers, and answers of our ancestors. You must hide Alan and guard this book. Give it to him only when he is ready, for it holds the key to the very future of our world." Brad and the boy Alan, who was still 13 years old, fled the kingdom under cover of the king's final diversionary magic. They left Arcadis in ruins, the light of the greatest kingdom extinguished, now under the demonic rule of Zack and his twisted followers. Alan's story, however, did not begin in the cradle of Arcadis. It began in a cataclysm long ago. Long before the three human kingdoms existed, a cosmic war raged between the demon race, led by the archdemon Baal, and the Mayan warriors, beings made of pure light and fire, carriers of great cosmic power. Baal lost the war, but in an act of profound spite and power, he captured the Mayan queen, Sirius. He dragged her back to his shadowy realm and through a union of force and dark power, took her as his wife. Sirius bore him a beautiful boy, but she refused to allow the darkness to claim her son. Using the last remnants of her powerful light magic, she escaped Baal's immediate notice and visited the human world. She found a noble soul in Queen Ali, the ruler of a fledgling human kingdom, the ancestor of Arcadis, and entrusted the child to her. "Protect him," Sirius warned Queen Ali and the king of that era. "He must be hidden and sealed with magic." Sirius then created a powerful magical portal, hiding her son within its ethereal space, sealing it with a terrible light. She gave the Book of Secrets, the very same book King Alaric would pass to Brad to Queen Ali. "This is the only source which can open this portal," Sirius explained. "When the time is right, this book will glow lights. The current king will then read these magical words, and your lineage will bring Alan back into this world. Raise him to restore peace and protect the humanity of both our world and yours. It will be the time when I am no more." This book was the foundational source of all light magic that later established Arcadis. It was only by using a portion of its power, granted by the king of that time, that Adam, the first great magician and Zack's future mentor, began to learn the light arts. The very act of protecting Alan had inadvertently inaugurated the era of magic in the human world and started the lineage of the Guardians of Light. The demon and human wars began because of this heritage. Centuries later, Alan's grandfather, King Alaric, and his soldiers were fighting a defensive war against a renewed demon race invasion. At the apex of the battle, the Book of Secrets, which had been passed down through generations, began to glow. A huge explosion of light instantly obliterated the demons, saving humanity. Following the ancient words passed down through the royal line, King Alaric read the magical words. A large magical portal opened, and Alan, floating in ethereal light, was delivered into the king's hands. He was adopted and raised as their own until Zack destroyed them all. 10 years later, the once glorious Arcadis was the Shadow Kingdom, dominated by Zack. The neighboring kingdoms of Elysia, Luna's home, and Eredor existed in perpetual fear, their defenses strained to the breaking point. Alan is now 23, a young man raised in the quiet obscurity of a foreign land. Sheltered by his uncle Brad, who had taught him survival, but not the full extent of his history. Alan had, however, found solace and purpose in his true love, Luna, a beautiful young girl from Elysia. They shared a quiet, fierce devotion, fueled by the shared dream of seeing Arcadis freed. Then tragedy struck again. Brad, having kept the secret for a decade, lay on his deathbed. He pressed the heavy, ancient Book of Secrets into Alan's hands, his voice thin but urgent. "Alan, this book is not ordinary. It contains all the answers you have been searching for your whole life. Just remember, son, you are our kingdom's last hope." Brad died with the burden finally lifted. Alan opened the book and found not only the secrets of his heritage, but a map to a hidden magical kingdom where he could find help. He tracked down the mysterious figure, the ancient, powerful magician Adam, the first master of light magic, and Zack's former teacher. Adam revealed the shattering truth. The king and queen who raised you were not your real parents, but they loved you as their own son. Adam explained the lineage, the Mayan queen Sirius, the archdemon Baal, the war, and the portal. He confirmed that Alan was a true hybrid, possessing the great power of light magic inherited from Sirius and the raw dark magic potential from Baal, a secret that even Zack had no knowledge of. Adam then delivered the final, crushing news. "I cannot defeat Zack. No one in the human realm possesses the power to fight the darkness he wields. But you do, Alan. Only a being forged in both light and shadow can prevail." Alan picked up the special magical wand that had been sealed within the Book of Secrets. His fingers wrapped around the polished wood, a flash of powerful, blinding light enveloped him. When the light faded, Alan was clad in a magnificent, magically forged silver armor, the symbol of the Mayan warriors emblazoned on his chest. His destiny was clear. Alan returned to Arcadis, now a scarred landscape choked by Zack's demonic banners. He found Zack enthroned amidst the ruins of the royal palace, flanked by his terrifying lieutenants. Zia cold, serpentine hiss, the grandson of Alaric. How sweet. "Did you come here to play with your child's stick? Or to join your dead parents?" "Aurelian," his voice ringing with the power of the light. "I came to end the darkness you chose." The duel began immediately. Alan's wand flared, unleashing torrents of pure light magic blades of brilliant white fire and shields of pure energy. Zack countered with sickeningly beautiful dark magic tendrils of purple shadow and explosive bolts of corrupted energy that struck the ground, leaving craters of sizzling black earth. Alan moved with speed, fueled by his light heritage, but Zack was older, faster, and utterly ruthless. Zack conjured a massive, whirling vortex of pure shadow. Alan threw up a barrier of intense light, the colors colliding in a blinding, deafening struggle that shook the remnants of the city. The battle raged across the ruined square. Alan was powerful, but his moves were hesitant, learned from a book and a brief, intense training session with Adam. Zack, by contrast, had years of practical darkness. With a sudden, terrible roar, Zack unleashed a chain of concentrated dark energy that wrapped around Alan's limbs and body, tightening, crushing the air from his lungs. Alan dropped to one knee, the light draining from his eyes as Zack's darkness sought to consume his heart. ZXC, his face a mask of triumph. The light always fails, boy. You are weak. You are nothing. As the dark chains dug deeper, Alan felt a cold, familiar anger rise, not the noble fury of a hero, but the raw, cold rage of the demon lineage within him. Zack's chains were attempting to crush the light, but in doing so, they only activated the dormant darkness. Not nothing, whispered a deep, resonant voice in the core of his being. Not just light. With a terrible, guttural roar that was not human, Alan broke the chains. The act was not one of light power, but of pure, dark, unadulterated primal force. As the dark chains shattered, they released a wave of shadow that immediately returned to Alan, fusing with the intense light already coursing through his veins. The silver armor vanished, replaced by an aura of swirling, chaotic power, one side pure, brilliant white gold, the other side shimmering, abyssal purple-black. Alan had stopped fighting against his dark heritage and had fully embraced both halves of his soul. He was the confluence of the archdemon and the Mayan queen. Zack stared, horror finally replacing contempt. He had been so focused on defeating the light that he hadn't noticed the shadow waiting beneath the surface. Alan lifted his wand, now crackling with twin braided streams of dark and light energy. He did not use a spell. He simply channeled the entirety of his existence. The fused energy, a catastrophic flash of chaotic, blinding white and obliterating black, erupted from the wand. It struck Zack mid-chest. The dark magician didn't scream. He simply disintegrated. The energy, too vast and contradictory to contain, passed directly through Zack's body and killed him on the spot, leaving only a pile of smoking ash and the shattered remnants of the obsidian grimoire. The shadows instantly fled the redeemed city. Alan, exhausted but victorious, stood amidst the ruins as the new dawn broke over Arcadis. Over the next few years, Alan, with the support of the now secure kingdoms of Elysia and Eridor, led the rebuilding. He married his true love, Princess Luna, and together they brought peace back to the continent, forging a powerful, unified kingdom where light and stability reigned. But the final price had just been paid. Miles away, in the deepest, most shadowed dimension of the Outer Realm, the Archdemon Ball felt a seismic shift in the flow of Forbidden's magic. The chaotic energy signature, the perfect, catastrophic fusion of light and darkness, was unmistakable. Ball knew. He had been searching for his lost son, the hybrid heir, for centuries. Now, the surge of dark power Alan had used to destroy Zack had acted as a perfect, undeniable beacon, finally revealing his exact location in the human world. The time had come to meet his son. Not for love or reconciliation, but to destroy the last hope of both the Mayan and human worlds. Alan, the son of Baal and Sirius, was the final, critical piece of a much larger, darker game. The war for Altheria was over, but the war for Alan's soul had just begun. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more epic fantasy stories and horror stories.